It just feels like a real film festival for the community.
It's very exciting for me to be here to support a film.
I wanted to show Toronto the way I experience it.
We want people to like our movies and understand them.
What makes it really special for me is the fact that the audiences have responded the way they have.
If I got lucky in the first two, this was the lottery.
I mean, I can't believe that I'm sitting at a table, flanked by these people.
You have to be faithful to what they really were.
First nice thing the press have ever done.
I was really happy to find out this is where we were coming.
That was amazing.
Growing up in South Africa as an activist, as a young man, the story of Nelson Mandela is one that you get to know about, and the more you learn about it, the more fascinated you are. So this was going back 25 years ago when I started communicating and I wrote to him while he was in prison about trying to tell this story, his story, into a motion picture. And he was very flattering because he sent a note back, to via a friend because he couldn't write letters easily. And he said that, would anybody want to see a movie about my life? And here we are 25 years later. There have been several movies about him. And, when he came out of prison, I got to meet him. And again, I pursued on this path. And finally, he chose me and granted me the rights against tough competition to Long Walk to Freedom, his autobiography. And I was very honored, but with that came a lot of responsibility.
For me, it wasn't really so much what I learned about myself, but it was really more about learning about the life of Mandela than Winnie, because here's a man who, faced with so much brutality, faced with so many challenges, so much degradation, and he could have done what most of us would have done, which is retaliated, been bitter, angry, and instead he elevated his human nature and he responded with compassion, understanding, and with thoughts of reconciliation. And it just showed me what we as human beings are capable of.
It was 2 years. I mean, since that trip when Anand took me down, I then travelled the country. And I was very aware that, coming from Manchester, that I was from outside. So to actually live there, to work in that community, work with these unbelievably brilliant, talented, wonderful South Africans, the crew. So I just travelled the country, just watching, observing, seeing the landscape. The landscapes, are stunning in South Africa. It's a beautiful country. The people are beautiful people. And but just spending time there. So, like where Winnie gets married, for example, was a place which no one's ever shot in before. We had to build a bridge to get into that community, into those mountains. And, I knew that it was going to be quite a tough shoot in terms of a physical shoot. And we're in an independent movie, it's an independent movie. We haven't got a big studio behind us. So I knew we'd be in very remote places when we were shooting, and I'd had an experience with Naomi on The First Grader where we were in a similar remote environment. So I persuaded Anand, who was very open to it, although I'm not sure how he feels now with the cost of it, but we shot it on 35mm.
We were very keen to sort of portray Mandela, as Justin said, as a man, as a human being, and that included, some of his parts of his life that may not be as flattering as we might think. That was an important part of the performance for me. I mean, I think we've seen the saintly Mandela that we all know and love, and I think it was important for us to explore and take the audience on a journey prior to that and understanding who he was. Because when you understand who he was, where he came from, he was my age when he became an activist. I'm 41, so it was around that time when he, became an activist. But he lived a very full life prior to that. And when you understand that, then you understand how long of a walk that freedom is. It's a component of I think that some filmmakers may have wanted to digress from, for obvious reasons. But I think Justin and Bill certainly wanted to make that a part of this story, you know, make it weighty. And then for me as an actor, you know, that was it's a challenge. You know, I didn't want to deface Mr. Mandela in any way, but I didn't want to portray him in a way that wasn't honest.